80万中国留学生尝到经济内循环铁拳，归国求职就业问题严峻。中共外交部连夜批特朗普总统联合国发言，继续推卸 CCP 病毒等责任。中共外交部称维护以联合国为核心的国际体系。华为在澳大利亚再裁员并削减投资。中共欲砍澳门美资牌照，试图影响美国总统大选。中共投放9.5万亿人民币研制芯片，宣传气势如同当年大跃进。央视称秋粮丰收，全年粮食有望高位增产。印尼再度排华，共产党的统治已使得全世界华人形象严重被毁。
Demo itu. Slow.
债主们聚集海航大厦门口追讨自己的权益。中共为报复蒙古族牧民推出禁牧法，牧民为了不让牛羊饿死，偷偷放牧，中共发现后抢走牛羊。
对，它是沿江的一个坝开了之后，农民靠着边上的把粮食往出抢一抢，但是现在已经抢不出来了，都淹了，可能落差得有3-4米高，1亩地2000块钱算呗，总共是7万多亩地，1个多亿啊，怎么算？
江西民众爆料，不按规定走路也将收到罚单。近日，中共又一火箭发射失败。9月21日晚，中共间谍欲强行进入喜马拉雅大使馆。目前，纽约的警方和调查部门正在寻找该男子的线索。
What are you doing there? What are you doing? Why are you trying to open the door? No, seriously, who are you? You need to leave right now. You need to leave. You need to leave right now.
装脸红碰瓷女战友形同老赖。
过来，就这样，好，那就这样。
打我的女同志！你把一个妇女给打倒了，你还装什么装？装吧！
好，我们叫警察已经来了，警察已经来了。
对着我们女战友的胸部打了一拳是吧？
对，狠狠的一拳。
对，自己装倒下来了啊。OK， 这是王八蛋，大家来看王八蛋，
你装，
大家来看王八蛋。
一个大男人耍无赖，你臭不要脸！怎么这么无赖呀？你一个大男人，你臭不要脸！
过去吧！
你怎么做得出来的你？
我们这个女生也不舒服了是吧？
对，我们女生
打他打的冒的胸，
被他打了，
我们女同志的胸啊，臭不要脸，耍无赖！
也被他打了一拳，还用手拐了一下，
帽子都掉了。
对。
不要动，
你不要动，你就躺着吧，不舒服就先躺着。对。
谁报警那个讲一下，有人受伤。
戴黑口罩上哈，你打人啊？
我打你妈鸡
你打人！
你要记住。
你打人！
哎，不要动，躺着。继续躺着。
好，你别听我啊，你这。
继续装。
看谁装？
是你装，臭不要脸！
龅牙装。再拍！我们这边不准。
打人是吧？不许拍！不许拍！打人是吧？
你不要看我。
挡住！
干嘛？
不许拍！
来，又打人！
你再拍！不许你拍！再拍我就拍你！
那个经理退后一下，警察来了。
再拍我你拍我啊！
好。
9月22日凌晨，全台湾战机紧急起飞，进行反制式军演，对抗中共威胁。
As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. In the earliest days of the virus, China locked down travel domestically while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world. China condemned my travel ban on their country, even as they canceled domestic flights and locked citizens in their homes. The Chinese government and the World Health Organization, which is virtually controlled by China, falsely declared that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission. Later, they falsely said people without symptoms would not spread the disease. The United Nations must hold China accountable for their actions. In addition, every year, China dumps millions and millions of tons of plastic and trash into the oceans, overfishes other countries' waters, destroys vast swaths of coral reef, and emits more toxic mercury into the atmosphere than any country anywhere in the world.
And most recently, what's gone on with Chinese social media, their wolf warriors, and the CCP apparatus. You know, look, there are 4 wars we can be fighting with China. Number 1 is the kinetic war, where the U.S. has the top kinetic war department in the world. Let's hope it never goes there. Number 2, cyber war. We've been fighting a cyber war with China since the early 2000s, and we have one of the top war departments in the world. The 2 other wars that we can be fighting with them, the economic war and the information/narrative war, we don't have war departments for, and China's been fighting those against us since it ascended the WTO. So Barry Diller has his opinions. I'm sure he has investments in China, and I'm sure he is some way trying to profit from this. Look, I don't have investments in TikTok or Huawei or ZTE or WeChat, but I try to call it like I see it. And what I see here is a grave U.S. security, national security concern.
China has moved to another hunting ground, Tibet. China is trying to erase Tibet as we know it. It is trying to turn Tibetans into slaves. Xi Jinping has done this in Xinjiang. He put an entire province into mass jails. And now he's doing the same in Tibet. China has built military-styled indoctrination camps. Thousands of Tibetans are being forced into these camps, and they are being shipped off to different parts of China from here. Tibetans are being pushed into forced labor across the country. Remember how Muslims are being trained in Xinjiang. They are being crushed. They're being rewired to toe the Communist Party line. It has been called a genocide. Now, the same is happening in Tibet. Tibetans are being turned into factory workers. The orders have come from Beijing, and the brief is very clear. Train Tibetans, then send them to different parts of China.
What China has been doing really since the 90s is invest heavily in the kinds of weapon systems specifically to target where the United States is weakest.
For years, the Chinese Communist Party has aggressively sought to modernize its military with a focus on anti-satellite weapons, hypersonic missiles, and cyberspace. The goal is to push the United States out of the Asia-Pacific region.
What, in your mind, is the biggest national security threat facing America today?
Right, so there are many threats facing the United States, but the one that poses the greatest threat and can do the most harm to the United States in the American way of life comes from the Chinese Communist Party. And really, that has been recognizing that is the biggest threat to the United States, has the potential of posing an existential threat to the United States.
Trade deal's not good enough. Just not good enough. We're huge supporters of the president, but we know the dangers of the CCP. And right now we're playing footsie. Okay? Time for action. I mean tough action. Shut TikTok down. Brian Kilmeade just said right there, hey, they killed 200,000. I didn't see the president say no. He says, I'm very angry at them. Time to turn anger into action. Right? Not for vengeance, not for retribution, for fairness. Right? They destroyed, 95% of this. Remember, this economic carnage is going to play out over decades. We had Jason Trennert on the other day, one of the brightest guys on Wall Street. He says, "Hey, I think we may be getting close to the Japanification of the economy." That wasn't on January 15th when they signed the trade deal. That wasn't the case. It was coming because they knew about it and lied about it. Listen to Dr. Yan. She talked to him on the 1st of January. They knew about it, knew they had a big problem. A couple of days later, she said, hey, don't call us back. We got our own issues. Don't need to talk to the World Health Organization's reference lab. Most of America wouldn't know that because Twitter, Jack Dorsey took it down because of his committee. It's insane that Jack Dorsey's not being sued nonstop. Jack Dorsey is an enabler of the deaths in this country. Okay, by taking down Dr. Yan. Jack Dorsey, she's a fact witness in this. Besides writing this amazing report, she's also a fact witness. She knows what went on. Jack Dorsey and Twitter does not want you to know that. Facebook does not want you to know that. Right? What do they call it? It's context, missing context. Missing context is how in bed with the Chinese Communist Party they are, how they kowtow to the CCP. Jack Maxey, what other news we got coming out of China? You're all over the tells. There's some tells coming out here. Are there not, sir, in the Global Times?
Well, there's some big tells. I mean, before we get to the big one, I want to say that the president, in the last weekend, we've had China basically declare that they're going to invade Taiwan, that this is all over with. They've told us that they've created essentially an entities list of people, corporations who the Chinese government is not going to deal with. Mr. President, this is your opportunity to show why we voted for you, because you are a man of action. Stop playing games with these Chinese people. They are delaying the inevitable confrontation, and while they're delaying, they're stocking up on food from our Iowa farms. I think it's time to cut the entire chain with Communist China, my opinion. But here is a big piece of news that came out today. This is in the Global Times, and I'm going to show the picture. I don't know if people can see this, but this is a picture of the Wuhan lab right there. And China's, the title is China's Agricultural Ministry requires stricter supervision over laboratory biosafety. China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs called the continued strengthening of supervision for laboratory biosafety management an important measure. The statement said there are still shortcomings in laboratory construction and biosafety supervision work in China, despite the fact that veterinary laboratories contributed greatly to helping control the epidemic of African swine flu 2 years ago. Essentially, in my opinion, I believe they are setting up a narrative where they can then blame some cadre in the Wuhan lab for the release of this virus so that it's not the responsibility of the Chinese Communist Party. As always, it's going to be some functionary who's going to be blamed for this. Expect the bat lady to maybe not be going to New Year's next January. And I'll tell you what, I contacted our esteemed virologist, Dr. Yan, with this article, and I'd like to read for you what she said, and hopefully @Jack won't take it down from Twitter. She said, these recent news about biosafety issues in China is to let people believe biosafety concerns is a big issue and make people believe that SARS-2 is accidentally escaped from lab. But remember, SARS-2 is their weapon from P4 lab, not other common pathogens from common labs, and no pandemic from those accidents after the control. For lab-made, they knew they cannot, denied with my strong scientific evidence. Basically, she's saying that this sort of change in the narrative, and I've discussed this with other people, is basically them setting the stage for their mea culpa. Planet Earth, we cannot let them play this game. They are responsible for this epidemic around the world. And we're going to find out later on today, a 96-page report is going to be published by Congress on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and it was obtained by the New York Post, and in it they say that it is beyond doubt that the CCP actively engaged in a cover-up designed to obfuscate data, hide relevant public health information, and suppress doctors and journalists. Research shows the CCP could have reduced the number of cases in China by up to 95% and kept us from having a global pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the rubber to meet the road. Mr. President, it is time for you to stand up and do your most fundamental job, which I know you believe in, which is to protect the American people. Let's protect our economy. Let's protect our agricultural exports. Let's protect the security of planet Earth by cutting the rope and telling Chairman Z to pound sand, Mr. President.
This is not about anger. This is not about being angry. Angry is part of pathos. We need logos and we need eros. We need ethos.
Ethos.
Wow, that's a Freudian slip.
Need some eros, Steve.
Just when I was on a roll.
Ladies, get ready. He's coming to New York.
Just when I do the. No, don't even. I don't even want to go back to Terry Schilling in the APP. But we don't need anger. We need resolution. We need iron will.
所以共产党这个流氓，你们一旦了解以后，亲爱的兄弟姐妹们，你们就知道，他们斗争起来不仅对咱老百姓狠，也不仅仅对穷人狠啊，他对那个敌人比谁都狠。共产党是人类有史以来对内部政治斗争人对方是最狠的，这才为什么有林彪啊，飞机坠毁啊蒙古，然后刘少奇。 几年找不着，指甲长得好长，头发长的人都无法相认，啊，最后连骨灰都找不着，啊，朱德呀、陈毅呀、彭德怀一干所谓老将，通通被灭啊，然后基本都被灭九族啊。那这回突然间在过去的1-2天内，中共各派之间之较量，像曾庆红啊、李克强啊。 江泽民啊，朱镕基呀，是吧？这些老将全出来了，啊，各显神通啊，都知道未来这个30-40天是最关键的啊。还有更重要的事情，现在关在秦城监狱的这些老将们啊，谁也都不是傻子，都不是省油的灯，啊。嚯，我这今天还是全新的西装啊，全新的啊。 全新的领带不是，领带是第2次了啊，所以说这个美国政府啊得到了各种信息。昨天晚上给我打电话，哎，这是真的是假的，这是真的是假的。 美国政府真学聪明了啊，这是对的。有些共产党就派人专门给你3分假7分真，7分假3分真的信息，叫你上当。再一个，利用美国政府结束它内部的政治斗争。我昨天就发现有好多是喂料的啊，喂料喂的是有真有假啊。我说你们别上当，但是今天早上我发现真有大料啊！潘多拉盒子会越来越多的得到中共的证明啊！潘多拉盒子就是135719计划啊之一。
在美国有20万人死于 CCP 病毒，超过了美国在5场战争中丧生的总和。据《华盛顿邮报》报道 ，FDA 预计将发布更严格的疫苗紧急批准指南。强生公司的病毒疫苗是美国开始的第3阶段试验的第4种疫苗。一项研究显示，冠状病毒使家庭暴力受害者更难找到住所。研究发现，51%的学校雇员增加了被病毒感染的风险。普京推荐俄罗斯病毒疫苗，并免费提供给联合国工作人员。随着周3华尔街会议开始，美国股票期货指向更高的开盘价。美国众议院批准支出法案，以避免病毒大流行期间政府关闭。